there's nothing wrong with an auction if it really is an auction. And in order to have an auction, you need to have the transparency of what goes on in the auction. Where is the liquidity coming from? How many investors there are? What is the bidding levels? And there's nothing wrong with it, a broker-dealer bidding in an auction to provide support. It's really just knowing that when that support is occurring and how often the auction is relying upon one dealer's support versus being a very broad and competitive auction. As I said, nothing's wrong with an auction if it really is an auction. The second part of the problem of, the lack of transparency about the judge that risk is the liquidity, is that there are very limited number of investors can bid in these auctions because issuers have sort of let it be through one or two or maybe three or four dealers. And that sort of undermines the whole notion of competition and liquidity and distribution and broad base to diversify risk. You need to open up the auctions to dramatically more number of investors, let them have greater access to it. And I think combine those two factors of transparency and greater liquidity, auction securities could function normally going forward, not at the same, perhaps, managed levels as they were in the past, because now people understand what the risks are better, but that they can still be functioning. But without those, the auction market is dead, and it will stay dead. And perhaps there should be other ways to address this problem than simply by doing another deal to fix the problems of the past deal, which creates just more churning of different accounts.
Well, then clearly the question is, how easily can the industry transform itself with regard to the issues of transparency and liquidity?
The market right now is looking for some leadership from issuers, from some smart issuers as to what to do next. There's been a tremendous amount of restructuring because not all auction rate securities are alike. Some of the auctions had very high cap rates of the typical 10, 15, 20% levels, and those, there was just nothing to do except from an issuer standpoint of redeem and refinance those somehow and just pay the extra cost of restructuring. But many other auctions are indexed and collared, and they're at lower rates. And it's not quite clear that even at those collared rates, whether the security should just go away as a cost of capital for the issuer. So issuers can use people, could provide the leadership of doing the transparency and the very easily, because both the SEC and within the Municipal Services Rulemaking Board, as well as with commercial vendors like Bloomberg and Reuters and others, can make the information available. They just need to release it and let the information out, and then to open up the auctions. They need to be addressing that by actually soliciting other people to come in. What you see right now is sort of a frozen market, so again, looking for direction. Somewhat in the early stages, there was a tremendous amount of panic. And I think what we're trying to tell people is right now, don't panic. Look at your options, manage the damage through bringing back the basic principles of transparency and liquidity to a broken product that can be potentially repaired. But it won't be if you don't provide transparency, if you don't address the problems of investor confidence and liquidity, there is no future. If you do address those issues, you may be able to get something that works and can be a benefit for issuer and investor. There's nothing wrong with an auction as long as it truly is an auction as opposed to a managed process.